Hello everyone, Jeff and Jay here with another edition of Jay's Big Adventure. Jay's a fuzzy guy, and today we are back working on our series on how to buy and sell cars and make money at it. If you followed along, I've been buying and selling cars for over 30 years, and I've done pretty well with it. Had a bunch of E30 M3s, E28 M5s, and those cars are now pushing $100,000. When I bought them, they were in the $12,000 to $15,000 range. And so I'm pretty good at picking cars that are going to start appreciating. If you want to get into the used car market and start your own flipping business, here are the cars that I would recommend starting out with. What I look for are the cars with the biggest spread between what NADA says they're worth and what they're actually selling for. As a general rule, I like to buy cars that are unusual, a little rare, and if at all possible, a manual transmission. These cars tend to be the performance versions. They tend to hold their value better, and they have a more passionate audience trying to buy them, which is going to help you when you go to resell the car. So what I look for are cars that are from the early 80s through the early 90s, and something that people either wanted when they were in high school or one of their buddies got when they were in high school. What was the cool kid driving in your high school at that particular time? You know, when kids were growing up in the 60s, it was the muscle cars. Well, those are now incredibly expensive. You know, the really hot stuff, you know, the Hemi Cudas and the 429, you know, the 429 Fords, those are $100,000 cars. Okay, it's not going to work when you start flipping vehicles. But the key is those were the cars that were hot when these kids were in high school. When they got out of high school, got their first jobs, and went to go buy something, these are the cars that people wanted to look for. So in my vintage, the 60s cars were just old cars. Okay, you know, the kid that was the cool kid showed up in a brand new CRX SI Honda, or a Civic SI, or a Prelude, or an Acura Integra. You know, those were attainable, but the people that bought them were always the cool kids, right? When you got out of college, what was the first car that you bought? What did you stretch for back then? Same thing. Old Hondas, old Acuras, that's the kind of stuff to look for now, because what I'm looking for is somebody who's made a bunch of money starting a car collection, and they're like, you know, I wish I had back my whatever, right? My very first car. My very first car was a 1965 Mercedes 220 SE that I got between a guy in a junkyard for 50 bucks. And I had that car all through college. I met my wife with that car. It's not about the performance of that particular vehicle, but if I could find one and get it back, I'd do it in a heartbeat. That's what I want to look for. So if you're starting out, buy something cheap. Again, anytime that you can, you want the performance version. In a CRX, it's the SI. The DX and the HF were economy versions. You know, the big motor, you know, the 5-speed transmission, that's what you want. Civic SIs are the CRX SI drivetrain in a Civic hatchback. It has back seats. It's got more storage capacity. For people with a family, those are great. In the late 80s through the early 90s, Honda made a 4-wheel drive Civic wagon with the SI motor and a 6-speed manual transmission in 1988. I think it came out in 1987. Definitely something that's really oddball, really rare, quirky, but that's what you want, something that's unusual. The next kind of up the rung cars are going to be Acuras. The Integras were the Civic of the Acura line, and they made what was called a GSR. If you pull up NADA and look at an Acura Integra GSR, 2-door or 4-door, those cars are trading in the $6,000 to $7,000 range, right? One just sold on Bring a Trailer for $36,000. Okay, I mean, just blows the charts off of NADA. That's what I want to find, right? It was the highest performance version. People are after them now, and the books can't keep up. So CRX SIs. Those are going to be the next cars that kind of hit that big market. If you want to stay domestic, I've got a couple really good picks for you, and I know in 5 years these cars are going to be valuable. One is the Dodge Neon RT, or the Dodge Neon SRT4. It was the turbocharged Neon motor. Only made it for a couple years. Very, very hard to find, especially nice, but that was the highest performance version of the Neon that you could buy. So if you can find one of those, grab it. I mean, you can find them because they have a rear wing on the deck lid, which is kind of silly, but that's how you identify that particular model. The other one that's even more rare is a Chrysler Crossfire. Now, Chrysler and Mercedes teamed up together for a couple of years, and the Crossfire is essentially a Mercedes SLK with a hardtop or convertible, but it's complete Mercedes running gear. So it's got the same V6 as an SLK, and Mercedes made an AMG version, and that drivetrain ended up in the Chrysler Crossfire SRT6. These cars are so rare, they're not even in NADA, but they're out there because I know I've got a buddy that has one. So those are the cars that are going to be really valuable in a couple of years because of their rarity. Again, if you have a choice, always buy the manual transmission because those are always going to be worth more money. But those are two cars in the domestic market that you can buy for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 and make a bunch of money on in a couple of years. Another good version is a Nissan Sentra SER. It was the hopped up version that competed against the CRX SI. CRXs had 1.5 liter motors. The SIs had 1.6. When the SER came out, it had a 2 liter motor. I think it made 140 horsepower. Civics, I think, were 116 at that time. That car also came with a limited slip differential and a front wheel drive car, which was really, really rare. Super hard to find, nice. If you find one, grab it. It will make you money. One of the things I like about these kinds of cars is that you can actually drive them. If you buy one, drive it for a couple of years, worst case scenario is you sell it when you get done, get your money back. But if you buy the right car, you can actually make money while you drive it. That's what I did with my 2003 M3 convertible. Bought it for $14,400 3 years ago with 54,000 miles. Drove it 30,000 miles, and at 86,000 miles, I got $21,900 for that car just a couple months ago because I knew that car had hit bottom and was on the way back up. That is what's happening to these cars right now. So look for that car with the big spread. If you want to do something a little less performance oriented and you need an automatic transmission, look at the Volvo 240 series and 740 series. They make a 940 or 960 series as well. 240 is what you expect when you think of a Volvo from the 80s. They're really boxy. They came in a sedan. They actually came in a two-door in the 70s, sedan in the 80s and 90s, and they also made a wagon. And those 240s are called 242s, 244s, and 245s based on how many doors they have. Those cars came in a turbo version, and you can get a manual transmission. The Holy Grail is a late model 1990s 245 turbo with a manual transmission. If you can find one, buy it. You can't go wrong. Give you an idea of the difference in market spread. A garden variety 87, I think it was an 87, Volvo 245, just sold on Bring a Trailer. It's an automatic, it's beige with beige cloth, 60,000 miles. It sold for $35,000, okay? It went for 6 times what the book says it's worth. Those are the cars that you want to look for. So do your market research, look on Bring a Trailer, look on eBay, find out what cars are bringing really good money, and then go search for one of those. Right now, Volvo 240 is still pretty cheap. I just looked at a car last week, 86 Volvo 244 with 500,000 miles on it. Now, the place that had it took it in on trade, and they were retailing it for $1,500. Okay, I think it's a $6,000 or $8,000 car all day long, regardless of the condition. If it was as nice as they said it was, I probably could have got quite a bit of money from a collector just because it had 500,000 miles on it. But look for cars like that. The next level up is going to be European cars, Mercedes, BMWs. We'll talk those in the next episode. But for now, do your homework. Look for something that's unusual. Look for something that's a manual transmission. And look for something that beats the heck out of the book. And that's what you want to look for right now. In the meantime, drive it, use it, enjoy it. When you get done, you'll have something worthwhile to sell. That's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And we'll have more videos out soon.